Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Sonoma County CareerFest. My name is Brandon Jewell. I'm with the CTE Foundation. I'm joined by my co-host, Stacy Fortin from Laguna and West County High School. And we are kicking off this entire 3-day career exploration event with our special guest, Guy Fieri. Guy, thank you so much for being here. I feel like, we don't really need much of an introduction for you. Everybody knows, but let's go over the list. Chef, can you hear us, Guy?
I got you. Okay. We're having our audio technical difficulties, but we're back.
All right. So, chef, author, straight up celebrity, entrepreneur, philanthropist. What am I missing there, Guy?
Dad.
What's that?
Dad.
Dad. The most important one of all.
The most important job is being dad.
Well, we really appreciate you being here and talking to us for a little bit about your path, and then we hope to get into some of the things about the restaurant industry, the show business industry, and overall just some of the skills that you think are some of the most important skills to have, no matter what career you choose. So I am going to just kind of kick right into the agenda here. We're curious about when you just really figured out what it is that you wanted to do for a living. Like, did you always want to go into show business, or did it start with the food side of it?
I'm trying to get the gallery. Is it just the four of us, or do we have all the students on gallery also?
It's just us, and then the students are watching.
I want to see all their smiling faces. It's a lot easier to talk to people when you can see who you're talking to. But
I'll keep smiling for you.
I'm sorry?
I said I'll just keep smiling for you.
That's great. When did I know what I wanted to do? I would think I'm a dreamer like any kid is. And you're going to be, I wanted to be Evel Knievel. Kids don't know who that is. Travis Pastrana, if you think about Nitro Circus, or if you know any of that kind of stuff. I always thought Evel Knievel was the coolest guy. I always wanted to be a pro football player, and I wanted to do a bunch of things. But fortunately, at a very young age, I realized that I liked to do something that, and it wasn't even something that was really discussed, and that was I love to cook. And so my parents always encouraged it, and whoever cooked in our family was the one that got to make the decision what we were going to have for dinner. And I just got a kick out of that. I just thought that was the coolest thing. I'm empowered. I'm 10 years old, and I get to make a decision about what I want to eat and what we're going to have. And my parents both they had a small business in Northern California up in a town called Ferndale, and they were thrilled that they would come home and there was dinner made. So that was kind of the beginning of it. And when I went to France when I was 16, I was an exchange student. And that's kind of like going to the epicenter of food and wine, or food and beverage. I wasn't wine at that time for me. And so it was just kind of like, if you don't squeeze it too hard, if you don't put too much pressure on yourself and don't put too much pressure on the situation, and just make sure that you participate in things and you diversify yourself, you don't know what's going to come to the top. To say at 10 years old, I knew I was going to be a chef and that I was going to own restaurants and be in TV and all of that would be impossible to say. But it started. That's how it started. And that's when I try to encourage people all the time. You could be anything you want. I mean, you really can. It's the greatest country in the world. We don't say you can't be that because your parents weren't that, or because you're this person or that person. You can be anything you want to be. I mean, it just depends on how hard you want to work, and it depends on how much you want to apply yourself, and it depends on, what sacrifices you're willing to make. And I don't mean sacrifices like negatively. I just mean sacrifices like, do you want to get that level of education? Do you want to work that hard? Do you want to participate in it all the time? Blah, 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 blah. So, but that's kind of how it started for me.
Now, did you have any particular mentors growing up?
My dad was my mom and dad were my biggest mentors. But I also came from a small community. Like I said, that little town called Ferndale. If anybody ever saw the movie Outbreak with Dustin Hoffman, that was filmed in Ferndale. And our town was small town, only 1,400 people. So everybody had some level of participation in your life, or at least it did for me. And I had several uncles. None of them were actually, flesh and blood family, but just really amazing people. And if you showed that you had interest and you were willing to step up to the plate, there was a lot of people, and I think that is kind of how our communities are, especially here in Sonoma County, people that are willing to help you. Doesn't mean that they're going to go beat your door down for it to give you advice and give you direction. But if you go and ask somebody, it's like, for instance, with you all, we've never met, and I don't know probably any of the students that are here today, but I am so thankful for the people that took the time to give me an hour of their time to talk about future and about life and about where you're going to go, that I couldn't be where I'm at today. So it's kind of you kind of give back. And that's what this is about. If it just makes a difference in one student today, 1/10 of a difference, and points them in a direction of saying, you know what, Guy Fieri said I can be whatever I want to be. Hey, wait a second. There's this guy that lives down my street. There's this lady my mom knows, and I've always wanted to be in fashion and design. What could I do now? And I want every student to listen to this right now, right off the bat. The fact that you've tuned into this today, the fact that you're taking your time to be here for this conversation already puts you ahead of 99% of the other students. And if you think that all of a sudden you're going to have this epiphany at 20 years old that you should now become this person and do this industry, you're crazy. You have to start fostering that now. Doesn't mean, I there's a lot of things. I was into woodworking. I still love woodworking. I was into auto mechanics. I was, working on my cars and my trucks. I didn't make money in either one of them. Lord knows that wasn't going to happen. But I didn't know that wasn't going to happen. So I dedicated myself to a variety of different things that built different facets to Guy Fieri. So now that I have a bunch of cars, I understand how cars are worked on and what takes place, and it helps me manage my cars. So anything that you're doing now is doing something towards your future. But the key is you got to do something now. Okay. And you're doing something right now by participating in this conversation today. The world's your oyster. I promise you this. I was 16 years old and I came back from France and went directly to college. I skipped my senior year. I went directly to college. I owned my first business here in Sonoma County when I was 25 years old. Blah, 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 blah. And all I tell you that is because I got busy early. Didn't mean that I knew I was going to be busy early. Use those resources, contact those people around you, find those mentors that want to help you. You got a whole program. Look at all this that's being done for you right now. It's your opportunity. Don't waste it. It's really the truth. It's really the truth. I can't say this enough to young students, is that I encourage them all the time. You can be whatever you want to be. So many people want to help you grow. Just maybe get off your phone a little bit more, maybe get out there a little bit more, and don't think that you can do it all over the internet and all of you need to have physical contact. You need to have physical relationships, and you need to get involved. And people ask me all the time, I want to be a chef. I go, where have you volunteered cooking? Why would I volunteer cooking? Well, how are you going to learn how to be a chef? Well, I watch on the internet all the time. I take a YouTube channel. I watch Food Network. I said, that's like one part of it. You got to physically get in the kitchen on a hot, Thursday night, that cooking for the veterans over in Yountville, making food for people that served our country and feeling what that's like. Then you'll find out if you really want to be a chef. So I know I got off your beaten path, but there you go.
No, it's great. This actually leads into the next question that I have, because you're talking about the drive, right? That drive. Once you find something you love, keep pursuing it. The way I see that is that's a soft skill, or often called like a transferable skill, right? It's a skill that will help you through any career that you have, no matter what industry. And so my next question actually leads into that. You have worked in many different industries, and I'm curious about what you think are some of those really important key soft skills, transferable skills, that someone needs to have in order to succeed, no matter what job they're in.
Excellent question. People contact. How to talk to people. How often, and this is a thing, and this is an ongoing, I hope students really hear me clearly when I say this to you. 90% of the time, when a person approaches me, I was just at the Super Bowl, then the NBA All-Stars, and the Food and Wine Festival. I just got back from Puerto Rico last night. 95% of the people that approach me that want a picture with me or an autograph will say this: can I get a picture? And I'll look right at them and I'll say, no. And they will look at me shocked. And I'll say, really? That's how you don't even know me. You're interrupting me. I'm in the middle of dinner. I'm walking with my friends. I'm shooting. I was over there shooting diners, driving to nuts. Is that really how you want to ask? And people will like look at me like I'm crazy and go, oh, hi, my name's Joe. Could I please have a picture with you? Absolutely, Joe. Let's take that picture. Manners are not, it's not a game. You either believe in being respectful and having manners and treating people with respect and honoring their time and their space and their environment and putting your hand out there and giving them a handshake, looking them in the eye when you're talking to them, saying please, saying thank you, introducing yourself. You're somebody of worth. I remind people this all the time. You're a power. You're an entity. You're successful. You're asking for my picture. Don't you think I deserve to know who I'm taking my picture with? Make that exchange, make that communication, make that dialogue. Not after that engagement, I think 95% of the time people will take a picture with you, no matter how busy they are. Manners mean everything. It is, and it's not an old school thing. Like, I'm 54 years old. I got everything. I got shows and blah, 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 blah. And I walk up to anybody that I'm going to interrupt and I say, excuse me, would you mind if I don't have any right to tell somebody, hey, I want that. Give me a napkin, please. I'll say, excuse me, would you mind passing me a napkin? So I think that's probably the number one thing. If everybody likes to have like this quick fix package of all the things that are going to make me successful in this world, I'm going to tell you right now, if you get your communication skills, your manners, your eye contact, your handshake, you get that down, you will open so many more doors than you never know why they don't open. It's unbelievable that people want to blame for so many reasons. It's the way I dressed. It's who I am. It's how tall I am. It's my age. It's my blah, 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 blah. You know what? No, it's none of that. Typically, it's none of that. It's just, how did you approach the situation? Hands in your pocket, head down, whispering, or did you walk in, pull your shoulders back, push your chin out, open your eyes up, speak articulately, put that handshake out there and say, how you doing, chef? My name's Joe. Big fan of the show. Would you mind if I got a picture with you, please? Changes everything. That's skill.
We hear a lot in the education world how important communication is, but I love that you're making it like, hey, it's not just communication, it's manners, which there's a lot that goes into that, right? In order to communicate in the proper way, you have to have manners. I love that. I love that perspective on such a key skill.
Treat everybody with respect. It will not fail you. It will not. You may treat somebody with respect and they may not treat you back with respect, but I can assure you the other 5 people that watch that know now who is the real deal and who's not. Respect is respect culture, respect their religion, respect their eating habits, respect their music taste, respect their football team, respect their whatever. Just give respect. And we will have a lot less issues in this world if people will respect one another's environment and situation.
Totally agree. I've gotten most of the jobs that I've had were through networking, and when doing that networking, right, you have to communicate, you have to have manners, you have to make that good impression. Otherwise,
you want people to remember who you are.
Exactly.
Students, I'm going to tell you this right now. I don't have one here in front of me to show you. I write on the average 50 to 100 thank you cards a month.
Wow.
Okay. I meet people. Most situations, I'm the guy that's on TV and they're not. But they're the master of their universe. There's a term called namaste. And if you recognize the power of somebody else, if you recognize somebody like, hey, in that world, Joe is the master of the universe in Joe's world. Okay. If you really think about it. And if you respect Joe's world, and it was nice to meet Joe, and Joe's somebody that you're doing business with, or somebody that but I just had all these people I met in Puerto Rico. I was down there doing a bunch of business and shooting shows. And I just save all the business cards. And as I get a business card, I take a picture of it and I send it to myself to remind myself. And I'll come back and it's a 2-line note, but it's like, Joe, great to meet you in Puerto Rico. Weather was amazing. Thanks for watching the show, Guy. Mm-hmm. You want to talk about opening doors? I have written notes to people that I haven't seen in 5 years. And 5 years later, we were doing something else. And that will come up in a conversation about, wow, did you ever get a handwritten note from anybody? Well, Guy Fieri sent me one. I'll tell you a story. This is actually a really true story. Just the other day, I was doing a big event we have a new show called Tournament of Champions on Food Network. And there's a radio DJ named Danny Bonaducci. Now, you may be old enough to remember who Danny Bonaducci is, but the students aren't. And Danny was a childhood actor on a famous TV show called The Partridge Family. Okay. Well, Danny since went to become a DJ and a talk show host and so forth. And about 7 or 8 years ago, I was supposed to be on a show in Philadelphia. And there was an accident on the freeway, couldn't make the show, was late getting to the show. And we were an hour and a half late to the show. And I finally made my driver take me to the show to go meet Danny and just say, hey man, you invited me to your show. I didn't make your show. I really apologize. And I just wanted to come and shake your hand and say, I'm sorry I missed you. And I wrote him a note saying, sorry I missed you. Fast forward 8 years later, he's doing another show. Now I'm on his show just the other day, having a conversation about my new show, Tournament of Champions. And the first 3 minutes of the conversation is Danny Bonaducci telling everybody, whatever this guy does must be great, because listen to what happened one time. And he told that whole story. That to me, you don't do it so somebody will remember you 8 years later. Just do it because it's what you should do respectfully of people and to honor people. But I'm going to tell you, if there's one of those stories, there's 1,000 of them, and you guys can all do that. Go get yourself, go drop $5 at Walgreens and buy up 10 thank you cards and reach out to those teachers that have given you a hand, or reach out to that person that supported you with something, or that mentor you have. Just write them a quick little note. Handwritten note goes a long way. Emails are nice. Texts are nice. Those are cute. Handwritten note.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that. Now, we actually have some students with Stacy live right now, and they've got some questions for you. Stacy, do you want to get the first student to ask their question?
We do. We have our first student here. Yeah, come on in, Leo.
Hey guy, how's it going?
Hey Leo, nice to meet you, bud.
Nice to meet you. My name is Leo. I'm a 9th grade West County student, and I have a question I want to ask you.
Fire away, bud.
What advice would you give a student who might be interested in going into the restaurant or hospitality industry?
Well, it's a great question, Leo. And the advice I would have is do it. If you can work in the restaurant business and you get a chance to do it, it is probably, in my opinion, out of all industries, the one that will give you the multiple facets that will be applicable in other industries. Very similar to the question that was just asked a moment ago that kind of rambled on. Let's look at the things that you learn in the restaurant business. You learn teamwork, you learn discipline, you learn timeline, you learn communication, you learn understanding, you learn public. Public's a big one to learn. It's not an easy job. But anybody that's worked in the restaurant business will be great in any industry. There's so many things about it. We're serving an item. We're making something from scratch and doing that. So that could be an industry of production. We're dealing with the public. That could be any industry of from airlines to travel to sales. We're doing sales. We're doing teamwork. That could be anything from being a teacher to working in schools. So when I had my restaurants here in Northern California, I had so many people that worked with us, Leo, that were all from all different industries. And I see them now. One of them is the vice principal, a buddy of mine named Pete, that's the vice principal over at Windsor High School. And I could see all the traits that we were doing in the restaurant at the time and how that applies to him now being a principal, because leading a team in the restaurant business, probably a lot like leading a lot of students, getting everybody focused on the same goal. So it's a really great question. There's so many, one, the restaurant industry needs people right now. Two, it's a great way to make money because the restaurant hours vary so much. So if you want to be a student, if you want to have a part-time job, if you want to have a family, have a second career, there's just, and the other great thing about it is, Leo, you can travel the world in the hospitality industry. You can work on yachts, you can work on jets, you can work in different countries, you can work anywhere you want if you know this business. And I don't think you always have to go to school for it. I mean, I went to school and got my business degree in it. You can go to culinary school or not. I didn't go to culinary school. So I'm not saying there's only one way to do it, but I think it's a great question. And I think that especially when you have a personality, and you like people, I think it's one of the greatest things you can ever do. Now, Leo, what is the key to my cross communication? You asked me a question, but how did I keep you engaged in this conversation the entire time?
You told a story. You explained yourself and you expressed yourself.
Very smart. How many times did I use your name?
Too many to count.
Great. How did it make you feel connected in the conversation?
Yeah.
Exactly. Always remember the name. Okay. Always remember the name. And when you want to keep people tuned in with you, especially when you're going on a big, long rant like I just did, make sure that you drop that name in there a few times. It keeps them locked in. George, it was nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for being here.
You got it, bud.
Thank you so much, Leo. Stacy, I believe we have one more student. Well, we have several more, but one more right now, right?
Yes, we do. Thank you, Leo. We have Savannah.
Great.
One of my favorite names.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Hi, Savannah.
Hi, Savannah.
Hi. Before I ask my question, I just wanted to say thank you so much for just being an inspiration for me. I want to go into the culinary industry when I'm older, and one of my best memories is watching Guys Grocery Games with my mom when I was growing up. So that definitely helped me gain my interest in going into the culinary industry. So thank you for that. And
You're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you.
of course. My question is, what is the biggest difference between working in a restaurant versus working as a chef on Food Network? And what would you say is the best thing about working as a chef on Food Network?
Okay, well, let's start with the first thing. One, how old are you?
15.
Okay, so why aren't you in the industry?
At the moment, I do work at Patisserie Angelica here in Sebastopol.
You're in the industry.
Yeah.
So you want to get into the industry, you're in the industry. So that's great. That's the first thing I'm gonna say to you. Never in this life are you going to get anywhere just doing the basics. I don't know, that doesn't sound right. But I want to say this. People look at me all the time like, well, I don't get to have a Ferrari and I don't get to have a boat and I don't get to have that. And I'll look at them and say, let's go back and just evaluate how much you've applied yourself and how much you've really taken the time to do this. You could be a student and have a job. You know, I worked my whole way through college. I paid my way through college. Didn't want my mom and dad to do it. I worked, 30 hours a week. It took me 5 years to go to college. I mean, when I graduated, my dad thought I was a doctor. You don't get the joke, but it's glad that you're doing it. So you're in the industry. That's A. B, chef on TV, chef in a restaurant. Very similar in the sense that to run a TV show, which I'm the executive producer of all my shows. So I'm the head chef of my shows. I'm the head chef of my restaurants. I have 85 restaurants, 86 yesterday. Same thing. Cooking is different. I mean, cooking and putting something on a plate and serving it to a guest right now, that happens all in the new. That's a different thing. Cooking on TV has got a different time set. Timing is the big thing about food. But the principles are the same. Gathering a lot of people to make a product to serve to people with consistency. So we do when we cook something in a restaurant. Everybody comes because they used to come to Johnny Garlic because we made Cajun chicken Alfredo. We'd put it on the plate. We'd serve it. People loved it. They want to come back. They want to have that same dish. People come and watch Guys Grocery Games, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. We take the product, we put it together, we package it up, we serve it to the guests on Friday nights, and they get a consistent product. A lot of people to make that happen, not just me. I'm just one part of it. And that's very similar. A chef can't do it all by himself. There's a lot of chefs, a lot of cooks, a lot of servers, a lot of managers that all make that work. So collective energy, participation, very similar to what I was just saying to Leo. Those types of things, whatever industry you're in, if you're making a widget, you're making wooden ducks, you got to have a lot of people that are all seeing the same vision of what we're going to generate and what we're going to put out there and give to people or sell to people. Consistency, teamwork, communication, dedication, respect, timing, all these things are the pivotal factors that make it work. You take any one of them out, you could be the most respectful team, the most hardworking team, the most dedicated team, but you don't communicate as a team, you're not going to get the wooden duck out. Why I came up with wooden duck, Savannah, I have no idea. But it's the same thing in TV and cooking. We're making something and we're serving it to people and we're going to be consistent about it. And it's going to take a lot of people to do it. What'd you say? What's my favorite part about doing it?
Yeah.
I've accomplished just about everything in my career I've ever wanted to accomplish. And now the biggest thing that I get out of it is, and it's probably what's always been my fuel, my fire as a person, is helping people, helping mankind. Like I was just saying earlier, I just got back from Puerto Rico last night. I've been gone for 2 weeks, from here to Florida to Puerto Rico, you name it. And I had this meeting with you guys, and I'm tired and I got a lot of stuff to do, and I got to leave on Friday to go back on the road. And but I don't want to let you down. So I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to do what I said I was going to do, and I'm going to be here for the meeting. And if it's easy, people do it. It's when it's hard that not everybody steps up to the plate or makes the call or shows up to work at 7 a.m. after a big night out or whatever the case may be. So for me, as a chef, as a TV producer, as a dad, as a friend, as a this or as that, it's helping people. And if more people in this world would invest, Savannah, if they would just give 10% more of themselves to help those around them, some do it financially, some do it mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever. If we all just made a little bit more effort, a little more 10% kick, we'd solve a lot of the issues that we have going on. But it's only ours to solve. It's only us to take, to have the power of. But you have to find whatever you're going to do, Savannah. Just make sure that you find that depth. Make sure that it really resonates with what you want to be. Don't, to every student, I want to say this to you right now. Don't chase the dollar. I've had so many of my friends. I can tell you all your teachers do not make the money that they deserve to make, in my opinion. I mean, having kids that have been through school, having gone through, teachers do it because teachers love people and want to help people and want to grow the future of this world. Restaurant owners, same thing. We don't make a lot of money in the restaurant business, but we get a lot of fulfillment for it. You got to love what you do. And I watch people that go do jobs and I'm like, you give 50 hours, 60 hours a week. Do you love what you do? Is it worth it? Make sure it's worth it. Make sure you get the money. Make sure you get the fulfillment out of it. And if you get people get fulfilled by different things, like sometimes it's the travel, sometimes it's the connection, sometimes it's the adrenaline, sometimes it's the pressure, sometimes it's the money. But make sure you're getting fulfillment.
Yeah, definitely.
You get it?
Yeah.
All right, Savannah. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Savannah.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you so much for being here again.
You bet.
All right, now back to me. My turn now. As host, I'm taking it back. I have a question for you, and this is actually an important question for me. I'm born and raised here in Sonoma County, guy, and I'd love to know, as somebody who has traveled the world, you just got back from Puerto Rico, you said, as somebody who's traveled the world, you still choose, you and your family, to live here in Sonoma County. And I just want to know, what is it about this area that is special to you?
Well, I was raised in Humboldt up in Northern California. Mm-hmm. That's when people say we live in Northern California now. And I'm like, no, I lived in Northern. I wanted to come here. I was in Los Angeles running restaurants. I went to college in Las Vegas. I went to run restaurants in Los Angeles for 5 years. And then I came to Sonoma County specifically to open Johnny Garlic's, my first restaurant. And the reason was a variety of reasons. One, big small town. It is a community, a lot of small communities that work together, but there's a lot of culture. I want to make sure that I raise my kids around culture. A lot of different opinions, a lot of different attitudes, a lot of different music, a lot of different art, a lot of different food, industry, weather. I mean, here we have beautiful mountains and 2 hours away from, 3 hours away from skiing, but then we also have the ocean. We have big restaurants, we have small restaurants. We have the Gravenstein Apple Fair. We have the Sonoma County Fair. We have downtown markets. We have, all this kind of stuff. So that was it. So I came up here in 96 to open my first restaurant. My wife and I were pregnant with our first son, and we lived in Sebastopol, and this was where I wanted to live. Just always had that in my mind as a kid, that Sonoma County was such a neat place to live. And we're very blessed. We got a lot of great things. We've been through some tough times, but it's one of the reasons I moved to this community was because of exactly what we saw in this community in the last 5 years. Look at how we've rallied to support one another and prevail through really, really difficult times. And I even look when I was on the Food Network, when I was on the show, the Food Network Star, how the community rallied to support me to and win, because there was a lot of voting online stuff. So it's just a really wonderful place to live, and a lot of people working really hard to make that happen. And I wanted to make sure that my kids grew up in a community where we knew who the teachers were, and we knew who the business people were, and we knew who my son's driving ed coach is his basketball coach, That's the kind of community you want to live in, where there's a lot of people that are all participating in the development, not only of our kids, but our families and our community.
Thank you. I know I'm a bit biased having grown up here. So it's really great to hear that from somebody who has experienced the rest of the world and still thinks, you know what, there is something special about Sonoma County. So
well, you don't really get it sometimes until you move away from it. Like I live in this, that's why I said that little town, Ferndale. I still have my house in Ferndale, own a couple buildings up there, do a lot of projects up there, try to, support my community. I've always had a special place in my heart for Ferndale, but sometimes my friends that weren't as tuned into it would move away and then realize, oh my gosh, what an amazing place to grow up. And all the students don't have to get that right now. Yes, go out and spread your wings and get a chance to live in other places and hopefully you have a chance to come back to live here or to visit, but you've really been raised in an amazing environment. This is just like something, and this is from a guy I lived in France. I've lived, you name there, I've been there. And it's, but there are great places to go, like Puerto Rico. Man, I didn't know, I've been there several times, but I just had the visit of a lifetime. And yes, am I looking at building a house in Puerto Rico? You bet. I have a house in Florida, building one in Nashville. I mean, we live in the greatest country in the world. The great thing about having goals, you guys, is when you have goals, it gives you things to look forward to. It gives you aspirations, things to grow towards. I want to give you a random example, and I apologize. I know I'm getting completely off your agenda, but I just want to say some of these because it's back to what Leo said. I told you a story. If I asked you students to go out there in the yard, in the driveway, and run and jump 3 feet in the air, could you do it? I can see that you're not nodding, or you are not. I'm just kidding. I can't see you. But if you told somebody to just run out there and jump 3 feet in the air, they'd look at you like you're a little goofy. Now, there's a few people that may just run and jump and over what they think is 3 feet in the air. But now if I take a bar and I hold that bar out there and I put on a couple milk crates and I say, this is 3 feet, now run and jump over that. People would start to figure out, like, I'm gonna take my shoes off. Okay, well, I'm gonna get this speed. Well, I'm gonna jump at this point. I'm going to, and eventually I imagine we could get everybody to figure out how to run and jump over the 3-foot bar. But that's because we set a goal. We made it quantifiable. We identified we could do it or we could not do it. And then we worked towards prevailing to get over it. You see what I'm saying with that? So you can't just have hopes and dreams in your head and just say, well, yeah, I'm going to be a race car driver. And then all of a sudden you end up 25 years old and you're like, man, I never made it as a race car driver. Yeah, because you never went down to Ukiah Speedway. You never went over to Lake County and watched the race. You can't just hope for it, folks. That's part of it. That's the beginning, but then you have to apply it. So make sure that when you start putting these things in front of you, that you have define some steps. Kind of like writing a syllabus, when you're writing a paper or doing a speech or whatever. Is it a syllabus? Outline? Put some outline to this. Okay, I want to be a race car driver. What's it take? Okay, I'm going to study NASCAR. Great. I'm going to go work at Johnny Franklin's on how to change tires on a car. Whatever it may be. But Johnny Franklin's from Mufflers, Leshwell. But the point is, set some goals. Set some goals and you'll start to achieve more than set goals now for what you're going to do in the week, set goals for what you want to achieve by next month, set goals for what you want to do in the gym, set goals for what you want to do by this summer, set goals for how much money you want to save. Setting goals is a really clear, definitive way to tell yourself whether or not you are participating in the design and the vision and the idea that you have. And if you don't want to do that, then just go and you can just hope. Hope does get you part of the game, but I will promise you much greater success if you really write some of this down and you really apply it and you show your mentors and your teachers and your parents and your friends and you say, here are my goals. I want to lose 10 pounds by the end of the summer. I want to save $1,000. You'll be amazed that when you put that information out to the universe in a real way, how people and things come about and help and surround you and give you a chance, and give you a better chance. I got a little deep, but trust me, if you got any of it, it's the truth. I promise you, I didn't get where I'm at by just hoping that I'm going to do it. I really had to tangibly, physically write things down and say, I am going to own a jet. I am going to own houses. I am going to own cars. I am going to do these things. And not that it's the material things. It's I'm going to, my foundation, the Guy Fieri Foundation, we have over $3 million in our foundation, and we do a ton of work with veterans and first responders and women and children. We have a reading advocacy program. Trust me, was no great student, but I do know how important reading is. And we're doing a program right now in Sonoma County schools to benefit it for fourth graders about inspiring them to read. That doesn't happen because I hoped I could do it. That happened because I put a game plan together. I got people signed on to this. We wrote some structure to what we were going to do, and we're making it happen.
And I love that you're saying, get others involved. Your goals don't necessarily have to mean you alone are working towards them. You have support around you, friends, family, teachers. They're all there to support you as well.
You never know who you're going to enlighten with your message of what you want to achieve. And they go, serious? I know a buddy in the movie business. Throw it out to the universe.
So, Guy, we've got 2 more live student questions for you, and then I'm
Okay.
hoping that we'll have some time to get into, we're getting some questions in the Q&A and in the chat. So I'm hoping that we'll have some time for that as well.
Well, you see how fast I answer my questions there, Brandon, but just go right ahead.
So who do we have there? Stacy, you're on mute.
We have Brett. Come on in, Brett.
Great.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, Brad, nice to meet you, bud.
Nice to meet you. I'm a junior at West County High, and this is my question. If you were never a culinary chef, what career path would you have chosen and why?
Back to the beginning when I said I wanted to be a daredevil, but I'm scared of heights, so that wasn't gonna work too good. And I want to be a football player, but I'm 5'11", and I'm not very fast, so that wasn't gonna work very good. I knew it was going to be something to do with business. I always liked bringing things together and making something, making something work, like getting part of this and part of that and part of this, a lot of what cooking is, and making something and selling it. I had a bike shop when I was 11. I had every lemonade stand you could ever imagine. So I was always a real hands-on business kind of guy. And the thing, and that's kind of going along to what I think your genesis of your question is if you don't do this, what would you do? Great. Have backup plans. I know that. How tall are you? Brett?
I'm around like 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah, you look tall. Okay, you're towering in there. So, my son Ryder is a basketball player. He's only 5'9". But he's told me that if he doesn't make it in the NBA, that he'll, this is when he was little, if he doesn't make it in the NBA, he'll come in the family, but come work in the family business, which I think is hysterical. That's great. I think that's the fact that he could even dream that he wanted to be in the NBA. Have other things. Back to what I told Savannah, or was talking with her about. Do what makes you happy. So look at the things that make you happy and work hard at it, and there's a really good chance you'll be successful with it. I love the outdoors. I love ranch, and we raise goats, and I love goat farming. I love everything with heavy equipment. I'm an outdoor, so I could very easily transition into that. But if you really want something, you can make it happen. I'm pretty sure about it, unless you're really far out there. But listen, all the students, I want you to the story. This is the most, I woke up this morning about 4 a.m. thinking about you guys, wanting to tell you this story. This gives me goosebumps to tell you this. A good friend of mine who lives here in Sonoma County, his son loved this kid, always a big fan of him, knew him since he was little, since he was like 6. He does good. He's a great kid, very, very vocal, very fun, athlete. Well, he gets into high school and he really starts to do poorly. And he's not doing good. And matter of fact, he almost barely graduates. I gave him a bunch of money. I gave him a nice envelope of money when he graduated from high school. And his dad almost made him give me the money back because he said he barely graduated. I think he graduated like a 2.2 average. and he was going to go off to work in an industry that he liked, but not that he loved. And he's still a local guy. Anyhow, I said to him, I said, you didn't love high school. And granted, I wasn't a super high school student. I loved auto shop. I took culinary and auto, like as many of you could take. Wood shop, culinary, as many as I could take, I would take. And I said, but you should really make sure that if you're going to be in business someday for yourself, that you should go to the JC and take business classes, or at least do some other things to fortify yourself. This isn't about fulfilling what your mom and dad want you to do. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you got to fulfill yourself, folks. You got to pack your own lunch. You got to pack your own bag. You got to get ready for the adventure of life, because nobody's going to be there to hold your hand. After you graduate high school, here you go. What did you prepare yourself for? Yeah, maybe you're lucky enough to have some people that'll carry you along for a little bit, but you don't want to be that person. You want to be a person that's self-efficient, self-fulfilling, and efficient. If I told you tomorrow, Brett, that you were going to go to the moon, what 5 things would you ask me to know? What would they be?
If I was to go to the moon tomorrow.
So I'm saying, Brett, you got a trip to the moon tomorrow. What would you like to know that I could download to you quickly and tell you, here's the 5 things you need. Here's 5 things you want to know. You get to ask me any 5 things, and I will guarantee you that I will let you know them, and you will have them locked down. What would they be?
Like, what is it like to be on the moon?
No, you don't want to know that question, because you're going to go to the moon. How about, how do I drive the spaceship? Boom. I downloaded. I just gave you the information. What else would you like to know?
Sorry, I can't think of it.
No, that's not an answer. Think about it. What do you need to eat?
Right. You wear like the suit the astronauts wear.
Right.
Like how comfortable.
How comfortable. So out of all the things you could ask me, I want you to ask me, like, how do I drive the spaceship? How do I get back to Earth? Here's I ask this to young students all the time. And this young student asked me, and I about fell off my chair. She said, where do I go to the bathroom? I'm like, that's one of the greatest questions ever. But my point is this: don't wait for the trip of a lifetime, which is your career, your future, your life, your existence, to start figuring out how to be a young adult. This isn't about career, this is about life. You know, my kid just learned how to drive. He just got his license. He's 16. I made him sit there and listen to me for 20 minutes yesterday about tire pressure. He's looking at me like I'm crazy, but I'm like, you're going to drive a car, you're going to learn about tire pressure. And tomorrow it's jumper cables. Back to the story about this kid. So I said, go to college, go to the JC, get some classes, make yourself a better man, make yourself a well-rounded person. And he said, okay. So he took a few classes. You guys ready to have your minds blown? He took a biology class and he learned about neuroscience. Can't see the goosebumps, but they're on my arm. He took another biology class, took a science class. And his professor said to him, I think you need to apply to Berkeley. He applied to Berkeley, he tested, he was accepted, he got a full ride. He graduated in the top 10% of a class of 220 students. He now works in the neuroscience department at Berkeley. He is going for his master's and will be getting his PhD. And this was from a guy that was a 2.2 GPA that was going to go work in an industrial job for the rest of his life.
Fire.
Wow.
Fire is right, my friend. Fire. And I'm going to tell you what, I promise you that every single one of you, somewhere inside of you, has that chance, but it's not going to happen if you're not willing to work at it and to find it and to apply yourself. You're not going to get it just waiting for opportunity. Doesn't come and knock on your door. You got to get outside and go find it. And had he not gone to school, had he not gone to take some classes, had he wouldn't have met the professor, wouldn't have taken biology, and now this guy is going to be a legend from a 2.2 GPA. There you go, my friend. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, guys. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much, Brad.
Thanks, Brett.
Stacy, we have one more, I believe.
Yes, we do. Here comes Andrea.
Is it Andrea or Andrea?
It's Andrea. So hi, I'm Andrea and I'm a sophomore here at West County.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I just wanted to start off by saying that I'm a huge fan. I have so many memories of my dad and I watching your Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives show, and I'm kind of fangirling right now. But anyway, I had.
What is this, Andrea? What is this used to watch? What's this used to watch?
Well, we're waiting for the upcoming episodes.
Got to keep watching. I can't pay for it. I mean, I got bills to pay. Anyhow, go ahead. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, sorry. So the question that I had here was you have already done so much to influence the culinary industry. Are there any future goals or plans that you hope to accomplish soon?
Thank you. So it ties into what I was saying to everybody today. Okay. Just because I've reached what people might think the top of the mountain, there's just bigger mountains. Okay. I don't know if you've ever been hiking, but you start walking up that path at Annandale Park or you're out at the coast and you're walking along, you're like, wow, look how tall that mountain is. And you get to the top of it and you look over and you go, oh my gosh, there's one twice the size of it in the background. How did I not see that? Guard dogs. That's a Chihuahua and a French Bulldog that think that they are Rottweilers and Mastiffs. Damn. Anyhow, you always got to set goals. I think that the way that people the way people keep going is by setting goals, forecasting things they want to do. My dad is 79 years old, just beat pancreatic cancer 3 years ago. And I believe one of the reasons that he beat that was because he had so many goals. And one of the goals is to build a house in Mexico. It's my house that I'm paying for that he wants to build in Mexico, but he sets the goals. And you've heard those stories about people that retire and then all of a sudden they retire and they live a year. I can't, again, those are difficult conversations, but I want to say for you as young students, there's an old saying, the world is your oyster. The world is your opportunity. Set goals. Set goals of I want to do this. Set goals I want to go to Paris in 2 years. Set goals. Because what you can always do is go back to your map and say, oh, remember I set that goal that I want to be better at using my Mac, at using my Apple. What have you done about that? You said that was a goal. You wrote the goal down. I'll tell you guys a story, and I'm getting completely off this topic, but there was a buddy of mine that worked for me in one of my restaurants. He was a bartender, and he was a pretty big drinker and a pretty big partier and so forth. And he was just a dude that was going to be a lifer in the restaurant, which is fine. He found something he liked. But he went to an inspirational convention, like a Tony Robbins type thing. And when he did that, what's up, brother? When he did that, he came back with these set of goals. And so he wrote on a piece of paper, and it was on his mirror in his room. And I'd go over to his house, and it had like these list of 10 things. And I kind of gave him a little bit of smack about it. I'm like, really? That's your project list? You did good with this? And he's like, listen, man, it worked for the dude that I went and saw. So I did it. I said, okay. I'm 20 years old, 21 years old. Fast forward 15 years later. I hadn't seen this guy in 15 years, but he was a big video gamer. He loved to play video games. And one day he answered an ad that said, looking for people that are interested in video game testing. He went and worked for, I think it was Mattel, and became the video game tester for Mattel. And then he left after 5 years and went and opened up his own video game testing company. And he is now probably making 100 times more than I make. And he still gets to do all his extracurricular habits and test video games. And he did it because he applied himself and he set those goals. He followed that list. So I think, Andrea, not to get off of your question, but take that into consideration that it's all there. It's all available, and you can have what you want. if you're willing to work at it. Nobody's going to give it to you. Opportunity does not knock at the door and say, hey, come here, I want you to be successful. So in my final chapters of my career, mine's all about philanthropy now. I have a lot of shows. I produce a lot of shows. I'm trying to get my son Hunter. I'm trying to help him develop his shows. My good friends, Antonio LaFaso, help her develop shows. My thing really is about championing other people. And it's great because I have enough experience. I have enough time, tenure. I've been through enough. But to do that, I have to establish goals. I have to establish steps, rungs in the ladder to do that. You can't just wish for it. So you start to learn some of these habits at a young age of how am I going to get through high school and survive it? How am I going to get through college and survive it? How am I going to save money and buy a home? How am I going to have a family? How am I going to build a business? All these kinds of things. The traits and the habits. There's a great book out there, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that unfortunately does not get presented enough like it used to back when I was a kid or, when I was a young adult. It's all there. So for me, continuing to set goals, continuing to set challenges for myself and benchmarks that I want to achieve. How'd that help?
Great.
That make any sense?
Yeah, no. Thank you so much for answering. Yeah, it was so
Very
great
nice
to
to meet you.
Thank you, Andrea. All right, we're supposed to go to 11:30-ish, but I'm putting ish at the end just in case, if you're
I know you got
willing.
a couple more questions, and I've been long-winded, so I'll let you finish up a couple of your questions. So
No, it's all right.
I've told them more stories and taken them down more rabbit holes.
But they're rabbit holes with a purpose. So I appreciate that. I'm actually going to ask, we have Wendy Swanson from Sonoma Valley High School. She's kind of in the background there. She's been monitoring the Q&A coming from the students and pulling out some of the ones that she wants to ask. Students, I'm sorry that we're not going to be able to answer all of the questions that are coming through. But Wendy, go ahead and what are some of the good questions that we're getting here for Guy?
Hi, Guy. I just want to real quick, our own Sonoma Valley High School and our brand new culinary facility is making Spam musubi right now while they're watching you.
Dynamite. I wish that I was having a sample of that because it's one of my favorites.
Well, feel free to stop by anytime you're in Sonoma Valley. We have a lovely new culinary facility. So
That's awesome.
good. A lot of the questions have revolved around sort of what's your favorite dish to make? What's your favorite restaurant? What's your favorite type of food, country you visited? So I'm just going to combine all those into sort of one question and say, do you have a favorite country, type of food that you like to make?
I will answer this because it's coming from the culinary thing, but I do want to say to the students, when you get that chance to ask that question and you meet that celebrity or that person that you really are happy to have that moment with, make sure you have that back pocket question that really means something. I've been to 1,500 diners, drive-ins, and dives. When somebody walks up and goes, what's your favorite diner, drive, and dive? Conversation's kind of over. Because if that's really all you want to ask me something that really has to, where's the world of food going? Now I got something to talk to you about. What's my favorite diner and drive? Reno's in South Boston. It doesn't really, what did you get? I'm always about this with people interviewing in jobs. You're interviewing the job and the job's interviewing you. Have good questions. Listen, I in the world of food, it is kind of like, who's your favorite kid? What's your favorite song? What's your favorite band? It's ever changing because it's like, what's your personality today? Having a melancholy day? Maybe it's something a little more, easygoing. You're getting ready for a Friday night. You're going out with your friends. It's a whole different style of music. I'm Italian. That's my family, my background. So of course I love Italy. I love Asian food, any Asian food, all Asian food. I love Mexico. As I said, I'm building a house down there right now. I've been to Croatia. I've been all over. I've been to Dubai, Bahrain. I've yet to hit New Zealand and South Africa, but that's going to be coming soon. Traveled all through Europe, lived in France when I was a kid. That's really where I got the bug for food. It's kind of like, what's your favorite color? Depends on your day. So it's the great thing about food, and especially to your culinary team, Spam musubi is got so many facets to it and so many reasons to it, and something to understand that don't just make the dish and eat it, understand it. understand what it is, understand why it is, understand who it comes from, understand why it's so enjoyed and so respected. All of those pieces are what makes spam musubi so amazing. Because if you really sit there and tell somebody about it, rice with spam wrapped in seaweed. But if that's how you look at it, then you don't get it. But if not everybody gets rap, not everybody gets reggae, and everybody gets country, not everybody get, but if you really look at it, you really understand it, then you'll understand it, you'll appreciate it more.
Okay, better questions then. There's been some questions about high school cooking competitions, and we used to have a really good one here in Sonoma County called Chefs of Tomorrow. And I think it's been one of the people is saying it's being discontinued. How do you feel? Do you think they're helpful? Any idea if there's any others coming up happening in Sonoma County? What do you think of them?
One program that I worked with a lot with California, with actually the National Restaurant Association, is a program called ProStart, which I know Maria Carrillo had it, and I don't know who else has it right now, but it's one of the programs that I am super near and dear to, because it teaches a lot about cooking that's not just the food. There's so many other facets to the world of food than just the cooking. Like, for instance, ServSafe certification. Everybody in this country should take ServSafe, cook or not cook. It does not matter. You should learn about what makes food safe and what doesn't make food safe, and what you need to do at home, what you need to do in your restaurant, what you need to do with your own personal hygiene. I mean, there's just so many things in the world of food safety that I think everybody should know. So, and I used to be an instructor for years on the ServSafe program. I love culinary competitions for students. I love culinary competitions for anybody. I don't want that to be the only thing about it, though. I want it to really be, I want people to embrace food for the big picture of what it can do. And people say to me, well, I'm not going to be a cook. I'm not going to own a restaurant. Why should I take a cooking class? So you can learn how to take care of yourself. If you can learn the difference, it's just, my son Ryder was just sitting here this morning, and he was having a bagel and a Gatorade. Now, this kid's lean and mean and ripped. I mean, he's a great athlete. He works hard. But I said, one day that won't be your metabolism. You'll have your dad's metabolism, and I can't sit here and eat a bagel and drink a Gatorade. Okay. I get to have a banana and a cup of coffee. Learn about what you're putting in your body. Learn about how to make it. You go and learn how to make a really dynamite cheeseburger. I promise you, you will be a lot more picky about what cheeseburgers you will put in your mouth, because you'll like, wait. That's what they call a cheeseburger? No, this is how you make a cheeseburger. So good culinary decision, good awareness of food will help you make better decisions about how you treat your body. And don't think that I'm some temple of health, but I'm going to tell you something. You'll start to make better decisions about where you spend your money, what kind of places you eat at, how much you eat of what. It's knowledge is power, and knowledge about food, which is our fuel source, massively important.
Great. There's a couple of questions sort of all in the same category too. I'm going to lump together. This is a perfect question for you. How do you build confidence? What's the best piece of advice you've ever received? And do you have any books that have been really, you mentioned 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That's a great one. Do you have any other books that you would recommend a young person reading?
Awesome question. I'm going to tell you another story. I love stories because I think stories paint it in our mind a little bit better than just hearing the answer. I left my major first job I had out of college. I left, and I was going to get fired from it, but I turned my attitude around and realized I didn't know it all, because believe it or not, we don't know it all yet. We'll never know it all. But I was young, and I turned it around, but I eventually was going to leave that company. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to take 2 weeks off between my new job and this job, and I'm going to really take some time to work on me, like focus on making me a better restaurant leader. So I went and bought all these books. I mean, you name it, I bought it. Tony Robbins, I bought them all. And there's a lot of great material out there for students that are looking at that thing, like how to get confidence and how to build these skills and talents that we're talking about here. There's a lot of stuff out there that you don't even have to read anymore. You can just go watch on YouTube, and there's so much support. I mean, the internet's such an amazing, amazing piece. All your teachers will tell you, we used to have this thing called the encyclopedia. You know, that was like pulling teeth trying to get that information out of there. Anyhow, the point being, I went and bought all these books, and as I was standing in line to pay for the books, there was one little book this big, and it had the greatest name. It said How to Win Friends and Influence People. I'm like, there's no way the little cheesy book for $5.99 at the checkout stand can be worth anything, but I bought it anyways. So I called my mentor, a guy named Tom Karen, and I called Tom and I said, Tom, this is what I'm trying to work on. I bought these books. Great. And he said to me, he goes, well, I'm sorry you went and spent all that money on these books. He says, because there's just one book that you need to buy. And I said, is it this book? How to win friends, influence people? And he goes, exactly. By a guy named Dale Carnegie, super famous, written back in the 30s. I promise you, students, read the book. Remember that we had this conversation. Run into me in Sonoma County and tell me that you've read that book. We got a lot to talk about. I promise it was probably the most profound impact on my life as a young adult, young restaurateur ever. So there's the book.
Okay, do you have time for a couple more?
One more.
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Gotta be a good one.
I'm torn between two.
All right, give me both of them. We'll see what happens.
Okay. One, I think this is interesting. How does the atmosphere, the sounds, the sights, the surroundings affect your experience cooking, creating, and eating?
Great question. That's a question that I'll sit there and talk to you about. What's your favorite pizza place in Sonoma? Food is so sensory. You know, one of the questions I love to answer is, what kind of music do you listen to when you're cooking? Depends.
Well, I will tell you that question came from our music teacher. So,
right, of course, a music teacher is thinking outside the box. Music is super important to me. I am a music machine. We have a big sound system inside of our house, and I'm a Sonos. I mean, I play it all. And people, you can never expect what you're going to hear when you come in. But I love, it depends on the day, depends on the night, depends on the time, the day, the morning, what I'm waking up to, what we're playing, but it all plays into it because it's sensory. You can eat the greatest meal in the world out of a paper bag on the back of your truck at a football game, and it's going to taste good. But you take that same experience out at Bodega Bay, sitting on a blanket with the waves crashing with your best friend or your wife or your, and it's going to give you a different experience. And that's so important that you put those things together, because it's not just simply the food that you're putting in your mouth. People don't go out to eat just because they want consumption of calories. They go out to eat for an experience. They go out to eat for education. They go out for emotion. I mean, connection, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, no, it's a really, really super important piece. And it's another thing that I'll say to you. When I interview people, some of the questions I say to them, we just hired a marketing director for our tequila company. And I said, what do you do in your off time? And don't give some candy answer like, I love to hike. Really? What kind of hiking boots do you wear? That's exactly what I said to her. She goes, well, I do more walking than I do hiking. Okay. But one of the questions I love to ask people, especially young people, is what kind of music do you listen to? Don't just give me that you listen to one kind of music, because you shouldn't. You should diversify yourself and know what's going on in the world of classical music. Know what's going on. I can't sit there and repeat it all to you, but I do know that you should learn to appreciate all the facets around you, all the facets of art, all the facets of food. And don't tell me you don't eat something. It's the craziest thing in the world. I'll let you have two that you don't eat. I'm not a big egg fan. And I also don't like liver. Other than that, I'll try it all. So keep your mind open, students. Keep your mind open to the arts. Keep your mind open to the world. Keep your mind open to opinions. Keep your mind open to religion. Keep your mind open to food styles. Keep your mind open. Don't make any opinions yet. Don't get yourself locked into it, because you know what you're going to do is you're going to shut yourself down. You're going to shut yourself down to the opportunities that may be coming up, and you're saying, oh, well, you know what? I don't eat Indian food. No, can't stand it. No, you may be missing that. Indian food may be your conduit to this thing that you want to do in your career. But you didn't go to the meeting because they were going to have the meeting at the Thai restaurant. You don't eat Thai. Never know.
I always tell kids when they're graduating to remember to always say yes.
I'm going to rip that one off from you, because that is probably one of the best things you can ever say. In your age, your timeline, with what you have going on, no should not be coming out of your mouth. It should be, how can you want to get involved? You want to come do this charity event? My son just wrote me something, and it just blew me out of the water. Of course, my smart aleck return to him was, who wrote it for you? So, Dad, I wrote it. But he wrote about cooking for firefighters. And we do a lot of philanthropy. We go out there a lot to try to do, and it's not because firefighters don't have anything to eat. We just go to say thank you. Hey, by the way, you guys aren't risking your lives today. You're in the parking lot, and we just want to come and give you some food and say thanks. And he wrote about what that experience was to him and how it made him feel supporting others. And I was just overwhelmed because he's not a guy that really gives me a lot of that feedback, but it was really great. Say yes. Get involved. You live in a community that's doing so many awesome things. Not about building your resume, that's part of it. It's about building your connections. It's about building your experience. It's about having that. And you just asked a question a moment ago. Let me wrap this all up with confidence. Confidence is not something that you're born with. Confidence is something that you grow. Confidence is, I've got a bunch of friends that'll back me up. Confidence is, I studied, I understand my materials, I can take this test. Confidence is, I walk my talk. Confidence is, I have a direction and a purpose. Yeah, that's what confidence is. Am I scared? I'm talking to, who am I talking to? I can't even see half of you. But I've been here this morning preparing myself for our agenda to make sure that I'm going to do a good job. I talk to millions of people a night on the Food Network. I'm just as terrified to do that as I am to have this conversation with you. But I'm confident that I know what I'm talking about. And I'm confident that I'm prepared for the meeting. Confidence is something that you have to foster and you have to work towards. And you have to participate in doing every single day. It doesn't just come because you're Guy Fieri. It comes because Guy Fieri works his butt off and prepares himself and surrounds himself with great people and pushes his boundaries and works towards his goals. When you start getting that kind of momentum and that kind of energy behind you, that's confidence. So confidence is, you all have the opportunity. You live in a free country that wants to see you go better or go bigger. And we need you to go big. That's my investment to you today, is I'm making my contribution to my community by having this conversation with you. And I hope you all get the message. And I hope it's Savannah and Leo and Brett. I hope it and Andrea, Andrea. I hope it balances with all of you. And if it does, then this is even a bigger success. But if it only is for one person, then that's still worth my time and energy to do this, because you may be that one person that keeps this community going in a positive direction. And we don't know when you called upon. It's your opportunity, folks. Don't waste it.
That's a great place to stop the questions. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate the invite. You are amazing educators in the fact that you put this together for these students and giving them a chance to participate. I love that we're able to do things by Zoom now, because now not everybody had to load up at a bus to get somewhere to do it. And we can do it from the comfort of our own home. But this is students, you have got the right people around you that are putting your interests and your success at the forefront. And that is the kind of people you want to be around. That's like where you're going to plant the seed, is in the gravel or in the fertile soil. And you got people that care about you. So it's been a pleasure and an honor to meet you all. And thank you guys for having me, and go make it yours.
Well, Guy Fieri, thank you so much for taking the time. Looks like the students there on Stacy's screen want to say goodbye as well.
Thank you very much from West County. It was great insight, great wisdom. Hey, thank you.
Thank you,
Hi, guys. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you, Guy. We appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Thanks for having me. Bye.